So I'm not a big fan of the ab roller for muscle growth because it's actually loading the shoulders more than it's loading the abs. The abs function to flex the spine, or in other words, bring this point and this point closer together. Think about how if this were to shorten, those 2 points are going to get closer together. So to load and train the abs, we want to load that function through a decent range of motion. The ab roller works the abs isometrically because it has to keep the spine and torso rigid as your arms move overhead. So they're getting worked, but it's only isometrically, not through a big range of motion, and it's the shoulder that's going through a much larger range of motion. From the shoulder standpoint, in this position, it's going to be the pecs and the triceps that are actually going to be working at the shoulder, and then as you bring the roller in toward you, the lats are going to take over. This is why you'll sometimes feel that you're getting a chest workout from it, or you might even fail the set because of your arms and shoulders rather than your abs. They're also going to be pretty difficult to progressively overload. So the ab roller will definitely train your abs, but if you want to develop them as efficiently as possible, a crunch with a decent range of motion is going to be your best bet.
Sure, primary mechanical role of your abs is spinal flexion, but it's not its only mechanical role. Another mechanical role of your abs is also spinal anti-extension, which is what happens during ab rollouts. If you're talking strictly in terms of hypertrophy, he's not wrong. In order to maximize hypertrophy response, you need a dynamic contraction through a significant range of motion, which in case of abs usually only happens through spinal flexion. But the reason why I would still recommend to most people to incorporate ab rollouts in their routine is because it's arguably one of the best core exercises in existence with high degree of strength and core stability carryover to other compound lifts. The fact ab rollout involves other muscle groups is exactly the reason why it's such a great core exercise. It basically forces your abs to work in a synergistic fashion alongside other muscle groups, the way your core always engages during multi-joint compound exercises. Although it's true the range of motion your abs go through during ab rollouts is relatively small, the amount of tension placed on the abs is actually pretty damn high. As flawed of an indicator as it is, multiple EMG studies indicate ab rollouts have one of the highest measured abs activation. It actually has the highest measured obliques activation and second highest measured rectus abdominis activation. Take that as you will. Not to mention, if you already have some variation of spinal flexion incorporated in your abs training, usually some variation of crunch, doing ab rollouts on top of it certainly won't take away from hypertrophy stimulus. Still, what in most cases makes ab rollouts kind of suboptimal for abs hypertrophy is the way most people do the exercise. So basically they initiate the concentric portion of the range of motion through shoulder extension. They bring in their lats, chest, and sometimes even triceps into play. What you should do instead is focus on bringing your rib cage to our pelvis. So basically perform the crunch, perform the spinal flexion to bring yourself up, while keeping the range of motion in the shoulder joint as small as possible. Easier said than done though, I know. For most people, ab rollouts are pretty damn hard, so it's really hard to manipulate and control the technique. So, are ab rollouts the most effective or efficient way to maximize hypertrophy stimulus in your abs, to grow your abs? Probably not. Are they still a great abs and even better core exercise? Yes! If all you care about is abs hypertrophy, you don't have to do them. But due to the reasons mentioned, I know I do, and I know I will continue to do so.